His parents had passed away when he was young, leaving Nana Ja to raise him with firm love and traditional values. She taught him to farm their small plot of land and instilled in him a deep sense of duty. Life in Inquanta was a predictable rhythm. Kwame would wake before dawn, help with chores, and then head to their Tueka cocoa farm. He spent his days tending to the trees, harvesting pods, and clearing weeds. It was hard, honest work that left his hands calloused and his back aching. But in this rhythm, there was a certain peace. It was the only life he had ever known. In the evenings, Kwame would gather with other young men under the big mango tree. They'd listen to the elder stories, play the traditional game of war, or just talk about their dreams. Most of these dreams were small: marrying a good woman, expanding farms, maybe buying a motorcycle. Kwame's best friend, Ya, was different. He was a jovial soul whose family village provision shop. Ya would bring stories from travelers about the big cities, about a world beyond Inquanta that seemed both thrilling and impossibly far away. "Kwame, my brother," Ya would often say, "one day we should go to Accra. See the tall buildings, the ocean, the lights at night. They say there are jobs in offices with air conditioning." Kwame would just smile and shake his head. "Leave Nana Ya, who would take care of her. This is our place, Ya. We belong here." But even as he said it, a part of him wondered, was this all life had to offer? Was he destined to follow the exact same path as his grandfather? He loved his grandmother deeply, but at night, lying on his thin mattress, a restlessness he couldn't name would stir within him. Then there was the matter of marriage. At his age, he was expected to find a wife and start a family. Nana Ja often made not so subtle hints. "Kwame, that the Kasua, from the Mensa family. She is a good girl. She knows how to cook, she is respectful, and her family has good land." But Kwame felt no spark for a Kasua, for any of the other young women in the village. They were inescapable and pretty, but something was missing. He couldn't explain what it was. Maybe he'd read too many old romance novels from the square, or listened to too many of Yaze's about the world outside. Or maybe, just maybe, he hadn't met the right person yet. The truth was, Kwame felt stuck. He felt like a tree, planted soil too shallow for its roots to grow deep. He was grateful for his life and his duties, but he was becoming painfully aware that there was a whole world out there he knew absolutely nothing about. A world that was calling to him, whispering of possibility just beyond the horizon of his quiet village, and he was beginning to wonder if he had the courage to answer. That was the season. Everything changed. Life for Kwame began to crumble like dried clay. For generations, his family had lived off their cocoa farm. It wasn't much, but it was steady until it wasn't. First, a disease, black pod rot, swept through the trees, turning healthy pods black and useless. Over half the crop was destroyed. Then, the rains. The trees that survived the disease now struggled for water, producing only small, poor quality pods. The buying agents offered prices so low, Kwame barely broke even. For the first time, he knew real desperation. Then, his grandmother, Nana Ya, fell ill, a cough that worsened until she was coughing up blood. The village herbalist couldn't help. His friend Ya urged him, "Kwame, this is serious. We need to take her to the hospital in Kumasi." "With what money?" Kwame cried, his voice breaking. "I can barely feed us." But seeing Nana just suffer, he knew he had no choice. He borrowed money from everyone, sold their goats, their chickens, even his mother's gold earrings. The hospital stay saved his grandmother, but it left Kwame with a mountain of debts. He did the math. Even with a perfect harvest, it would take 3 years to pay it off. 3 years of grinding poverty, unable to afford Nana Ya's ongoing care. The village he loved was now a trap. It was Ya who offered a lifeline. "My cousin Julia's works construction in Accra," he said. The pit. Kwame. Really good. Accra. The city felt foreign, terrifying, leaving his grandmother, his home. But Ya was right. Staying meant slow death. Going to Accra offered a glimmer of hope. He could pay his debts, send money home from Madison, and maybe, just maybe, build a future. That night, he told his grandmother he expected her to protest, but she took his hand. "Kwame, my grandson," she said, her voice raspy but firm. "This village is too small for your spirit. Go to the city and find your pat. Make something of yourself. I will be fine." Tears streamed down Kwame's face. "What if I fail?" Nana Nanaja smiled. Then you will have tried. But you won't fail, Kwame. You are stronger than you know. So, with his grandmother's blessing, Kwame prepared for the biggest journey of his life. The morning he left, the whole village came to see him off. He knelt before Nanaja. Go with God, my grandson. She blessed him. Remember who you are. Your roots go deep. Let them keep you strong. As the Tratra pulled away, leaving his village behind, Kwame felt fear and hope collide within him, an ending and a beginning, all at once. He was terrified. Was ready. The journey to Accra took long hours. 7 hours of bone-jarring bumps, squashed between strangers, watching a world I knew disappear behind me. As we drove south, the green hills of my home, the Ashanti region, slowly flattened out. The dense forest I knew so well thinned into scrubland, then into towns, and then something else entirely. The roads got better, wider, busier. I saw cars, trucks, motorcycles, all moving with a speed I'd never witnessed in Inc. And then I saw it. Through the dusty Tratra window, my very first glimpse of the ocean. It was a massive, endless stretch of blue-gray water that met the sky, bigger than anything I had ever dreamed of. The sight just stole the air from my lungs. But if the ocean was impressive, Accra itself was overwhelming. As we entered the city limits, I pressed my face against the glass, trying to soak it all in. Buildings shot up into the sky, taller than any tree I'd ever seen, some reaching 10, 15, even 20 stories high. The roads were so wide they had 6 lanes of traffic, with painted lines and these strange glowing lights that changed from red to green. Shopping centers with huge glass windows, showing off things I'd only ever seen in magazines. Giant billboards advertised products I couldn't even begin to guess the purpose of. And the people, so many people, more people than I thought could exist in one place. Everyone moved with intense purpose, like they all had a secret map and knew exactly where they were going. The noise was a physical thing, a constant symphony of car horns, music blasting from shops and cars, vendors shouting, and the endless grind of construction. Back in Nkwanta, you could stand in the middle of the village and hear the wind in the trees. Here, I couldn't even hear my own thoughts. The smells were just as powerful. Diesel fumes mixed with the scent of street food, the salt of the ocean mixed with garbage baking in the heat, expensive perfume and human sweat. It was a full assault on my senses. My stomach twisted into a tight knot of pure anxiety. What had I done? How could a village boy like me ever hope to survive in this chaotic, massive, confusing place? The Tratra finally spat me out. At Kwame, Nkrumah, a monstrous roundabout, where roads tangled together in a confusing mess of traffic. My cousin had given me directions to a nearby chop bar, but standing there with my small bag, swallowed by the crowd and the chaos, I felt more lost than I had ever felt in my entire life. I asked for directions 3 times, and each time I got a different vague wave of the hand. Finally, a kind-looking woman selling oranges by the roadside must have seen the panic on my face. She took pity on me. You are from village, yes? She asked, her Chui mixed with English. She saw right through me. Yes, ma. From the Ashanti region, I admitted, my voice small. She smiled. A warm, genuine smile. I can tell. Don't worry, we start somewhere. The chop bar you want is that way, she pointed. Just past the electronics shop, down the small street. But be careful, eh? This city will eat you alive if you're not smart. Keep your money hidden, don't trust every smile, and always know what's happening around you. I was so grateful. Thank you, Ma, I said, and her kindness felt like a tiny anchor in the storm. I found the chop bar. It was a small, open-fronted place with plastic tables and chairs, filled with workers grabbing a cheap meal. And there, in the corner, was Julius. He looked older than I remembered from his last visit to Nkwanta years ago. He was only 35, but he had the hard look of someone who had spent years doing tough physical work. His arms were muscular and scarred, his face withered, and his eyes were sharp, constantly assessing everything. But when he saw me, his whole face broke into a real smile. Welcome to Accra. He stood up and pulled me into a quick, firm hug. Sit. Sit. You must be tired. Have you eaten? I suddenly realized I was starving. Not since this morning, please, I admitted. Julius ordered us both plates of jollof rice with chicken and fried plantain. And as we ate, he started to paint a picture of my new reality. This city is not like the village, he began. and his tone was dead serious. Here, nobody cares if you live or die. Nobody will help you for free. Everything, and I mean everything, costs money. Water, electricity, even using a public toilet. You understand? I nodded, but I'm not sure I really did. Not yet. I got your job, he continued. Inside where I work. Hard work, carrying cement, mixing concrete, materials, whatever the foreman tells you to do. The pay is 60 cedis a day. You show up on time and work the full day. So, 3 a week, maybe 1,200 a month if we work every day. I know it sounds like a lot compared to, right? He paused, letting that sink in. Here's the reality. My room costs 4 cedis a month. Food will cost you at least 300 if you eat cheap. Getting to and from the site is another 100. You see, the money just vanishes. I quickly did the math in my head. That left maybe 400 cedis a month. To save, to send home to my grandmother, to emergencies. It wasn't the fortune I'd imagined, but it was still more I could ever make back home in Inquanta. Understand, cousin. I'll work hard, save carefully. Good. Then he leaned forward, his voice dropping low. One more thing. In this city, people try to use you. They'll cheat you. Village people like us, we thinking everyone is our brother because we speak the same language or come from the same region. That's how people get destroyed here. Trust no one until they prove they're worthy of your trust. Keep your money. If you have a little success, don't show it off. And always be careful with women. Confused. Julius let out a laugh, but it had no joy in it. Women in this city are different from village girls. Some of them see a man like Young strong, a little innocent, and they see an opportunity. They use for money, for a place to stay, for whatever they can get. Then they move on to the next one. I'm not saying all of them are, but there are enough that you need to be very, very careful. Don't fall in love. Isali, you came here to work and save money, not to find a wife. Remember that? I nodded, even though his cynical words stung a little. Surely not everyone was like that. Surely there were good people here, just like anywhere else. But I kept those thoughts to myself. I will be careful, cousin. Thank you for the advice. After we ate, Julius led me through a dizzying maze of streets to his neighborhood, a place called Nima. Dense buildings were crammed together, leaning on each other for support. Narrow alleyways twisted in structures that looked like they were made of scrap metal and mismatched concrete blocks. Laundry was hanging from every possible line and rail, and kitted in streets so narrow I doubted a car could pass. Julius's room was on the second floor of one of these buildings. The room itself was tiny, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet. It had a single bed, a small wardrobe, a hot plate for cooking, and not much else. A shared bathroom, used by everyone on the floor, was down the hall. This will be home for now, Julius said, noticing the look on my face. I know it's not much, but it's what we can afford. You can sleep on the floor, maybe in a few months. With money, you can find your own place. That night, I lay in a foam mattress on the hard concrete floor. The city, distant music, and an argument from a room nearby, the constant hum of traffic, and someone's TV playing way too loud. I thought about my mother, Nana Ya, in her small but comfortable bed back in Inquanta. I thought about the quiet nights under a sky full of stars. I thought about the simple life I had just left behind, and lying there, in the dark, with the city buzzing all around me, I couldn't help but wonder, had I made a terrible mistake? The construction site was a different kind of hell. Julius woke me at 4:30 the next morning. We had to start by 5:15 to get there before 6 a.m. When work officially started, Julius warned me the foreman was a tyrannical man who docked pay if you were even 5 minutes late. The site was in East Lagaine, a wealthy neighborhood where rich Ghanaians and expats were building massive homes with pools and fancy gardens. The difference between this world and the poverty of Nima, where I now lived, was just staggering. The work was brutal, from 6 in the morning to 6 at night, with only a 30-minute lunch break. I hauled heavy bags of cement and mixed concrete under the scorching sun. I carried materials up makeshift scaffolding and did whatever the foreman, a thick-set man named Mr. Ansa, barked at me to do. He seemed to love yelling at new guys and finding reasons to threaten our pay. My hands, used to farm work, but not this, blistered and bled. My back felt like it just snapped. By the third day, every single muscle in my body screamed in pain. I thought about quitting so many times. But then I think of Nana Ya's medical bills, the debts back home, and my promise to make things better. And I would force myself to keep going. The other workers were a mixed bunch, some from others from different regions, all united by our need for a daily wage and our shared resentment of the foreman. They ranged from teenagers to men in their 50s, their bodies showing the toll of decades of hard labor. One of them, a man named Kofi, took me under his wing. He was in his 30s, with a wiry build and a quick smile that showed 2 gold teeth. First week is always the hardest, he told me on my 4th day, when my hands were so torn up I could barely grip anything. He held up his own hands, the palms covered in thick See these? These are your armor, look like mine, and the work won't hurt so much. During our short lunch break, I asked him, how long have you been doing this? While eating the cheap rice and beans, 8 years, he said. I came from the Volta region, thinking I'd work construction for a year, make some money, and go back to start a business. But you know, 2, then 5, then 8. The money is never quite enough. There's always something, rent goes up. Someone back home needs help. You get sick. Before you know it, years have passed, and you're still here. Still hoping next month will be better. The resignation in his voice chilled me. Was this my future? To be trapped in an endless cycle of hard labor, just survive. But I had no time for dark thoughts. Mr. Ansah was already shouting for us to get back to work, threatening to dock our pay if we took 1 minute more than our break. The days blurred into an exhausting routine. Wake before dawn, rush to the site, work until my muscles screamed and my hands bled. Return to the tiny room in Nima, eat a simple and collapse into sleep, only to wake up and do it all again. Weeks passed. I learned the rhythms of the city. I learned which trotro drivers would try to overcharge you and which were fair. I learned which food vendors sold meals that wouldn't make you sick. I learned to navigate the chaos of Accra streets, to keep my money hidden in my sock, and to work with purpose so I wouldn't look like an easy target. I sent money home whenever I could, 50 CDs, here, 70 there. Ya's mother would send text messages confirming she got it, with brief updates on Nana Ya. She is stable, the messages would say, she asks about you. Those simple words kept me going. 3 months into my time in Accra, something changed. One of the site managers, a younger man named Kwame, who had studied engineering, noticed me. You? That one afternoon, pointing at me. The new one from my heart sank. Was I about to be fired? But his expression wasn't angry. He said, you work harder than most of these lazy fools. You're on time, you don't complain, and you pay attention. Can you read and write? Yes, sir. I finished secondary school. His eyebrows rose. Secondary? And you're doing manual labor? I need the money, sir. My grandmother's sick. We have debts. Kwabina studied me for a moment to be my assistant. I need someone who can plans, take measurements, and keep records of materials. It pays 80 cedis a day instead of 60, and the work is less brutal. You interested? I could barely believe it. More a day, that was 400 more a month. That was real money. Money that could actually make a day. Yes, sir. I would be very interested, sir. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. The job requires thinking, not just muscle. If you messed up, you go back to general labor. Understand? Yes, sir. I will not disappoint you. And I didn't. I threw myself into the new role with the same determination I'd brought to manual labor. I learned to read construction plans, calculate material needs, and keep precise records. Kwabina impressed with my diligence, teaching me more about construction tech, project management, and the business side of building. You're wasting your potential doing this, he told me after a month. Have you thought about technical school, learning a proper trade, carpentry, plumbing, electrical work? With your attitude, you could be a contractor yourself in a few years. The idea had never occurred to me. Technical school needed money and time, 2 things I barely had, but the seed was planted, and it started to grow. Maybe there was a path forward that wasn't just endless work. Maybe I could build something more than just buildings. Maybe I could build a real future. By my 6th month in Accra, I had transformed. The village boy who had arrived terrified and overwhelmed was gone. In his place was someone harder, more confident, more capable. My body had adapted. I was leaner but stronger, my hands permanently calloused, my skin darker from the sun. More importantly, my mind had adapted. I understood the city now, its rhythms and its rules. I understood how to survive and maybe even how to I had saved nearly 2,000 CDs, hidden in a small metal box under the floorboard in Julius's room. I had paid off half the debt back home and was on a 300 a month for her care. For the first time since arriving in Accra, I felt like I was winning, not just surviving. And then I met her, the woman who would turn my carefully ordered new life completely upside down. The woman who would make me question everything I thought I knew about loyalty and destiny. Her name was Amara. It happened on a Saturday afternoon in late October. Today was Kwame's only day off. The construction site was closed on Sundays, but Saturdays were his to keep. He'd usually spend these precious hours on chores, exploring a new part of the city. He was always careful with his money, but he'd allow himself a small luxury, like a cold Malta or a newspaper. On this particular Saturday, Kwame decided to visit Independence Square. He'd heard about it, this famous area in central Accra, but had never seen it himself. It was home to the Independence Arch, a place for national celebrations and a magnet for tourists. He wanted to see it, to remind himself that Accra was more than just construction sites and crowded neighborhoods. He needed to see that there was beauty and history here too. He took a tratra and spent the afternoon just walking around, admiring the architecture, watching families take photos, and observing vendors selling flags and souvenirs. It was peaceful, a feeling he hadn't experienced since arriving in Accra. For the first time in a while, the constant tension in his shoulders started to ease. He found a bench near the sea and sat down, watching the waves roll in. He was thinking about how he would describe all of this to his Nana Ja on the next phone call. Just then, someone sat down beside him. "Beautiful, isn't it?" a voice said. "The ocean. I never get tired of watching it." Kwame turned and saw the most striking woman he had ever seen. She looked about his age, maybe a year or two older. Her skin was warm honey, and her natural hair was styled in an elegant way. She wore a simple, yet stylish, yellow sundress that looked both casual and expensive, and silver earrings caught the afternoon. But it was her eyes that truly captured him, large, expressive, intelligent eyes that seemed to hold both warmth and a touch of sadness. "Yes," Kwame managed to say, suddenly feeling self-conscious in his worn jeans and faded t-shirt. He was aware of his calloused hands and the construction dust that never quite washed out of his hair. "Yes, it's very beautiful." She smiled, and it was like the sun breaking through clouds. "You're not from Accra, are you? I can tell you re-looking at everything like you re-seeing it all for the first time." Kwame felt his face grow warm. "Was it that obvious? Village?" "No, I'm from the Ashanti region, a small village called Nkwanta. I came to Accra 6 months ago for work." "Ashanti? I love that region. The culture, the history. I'm Amara, by the way." She extended her hand. "Kwame," he replied, shaking her soft hand, a stark contrast to his own work-roughened palm. "So, Kwame from Nkwanta? What brings you to Independence Square on this beautiful Saturday?" And just like that, they started to talk. Kwame, who was usually reserved with strangers, especially women, found himself opening up to Amara. Maybe it was her easy manner, the way she asked questions with genuine interest. Maybe it was the loneliness he'd been carrying for 6 long months, the lack of real conversation beyond work. Or maybe it was something else, a warm feeling growing in his chest. He told her about Nkwanta, about Nana Ja, and about coming to Accra out of necessity, not choice. She listened with an attentiveness that made him feel, for the first time in months, like he mattered as more than just a pair of hands for carrying cement. "That's quite a story," Amara said when he finished. "You came here to save your grandmother and your family farm. That's noble. Most have given up." "I had no choice," Kwame said simply. "She raised me. I owe her everything." "There's always a choice," Amara replied thoughtfully. "You chose duty over comfort. That says something about your character." Now Kwame wanted to know about her, this elegant woman who seemed so different from anyone he knew. "What about you?" he asked. "Are you from Accra?" A shadow passed over her face, brief but unmistakable. "Yes and no. He grew up Era, but I've lived in many places. London for university, then Lagos for work. I only moved back to Accra permanently 3 months ago." "London? Lagos. Kwame couldn't hide his surprise. She had only read about in newspapers. Don't be too impressed, Amara said, her laugh holding a slight edge of bitterness. Traveling doesn't necessarily mean you're going anywhere. Sometimes you're just running. Before Kwame could ask what she meant, Amara glanced at her phone, and her expression shifted. I have to go, she said abruptly, standing up. I'm late for ... something. Kwame felt an unexpected pang of disappointment. He didn't want this to end. He didn't want to go back to his lonely room. Oh, okay, he said, standing as well. It was nice talking to you. Amara looked at him for a long moment, as if making a decision. Then, she pulled out her phone. Give me your number. Maybe we could do this again, sometime. I don't have many friends in Accra, who aren't single quotes, t ... double quotes. She paused. So the word, ... complicated. Kwame recited his number, and she quickly saved it. I'll text you, she said. Don't be surprised if you hear from me. I mean it. I'd like that, Kwame admitted, more honestly than he intended. She smiled that brilliant smile again, then turned and walked away. Kwame watched her go, noticing her confident walk and how heads turned as she passed. He remembered his friend Julius's warning about city women, how they could use and discard men like him. But as he thought of the sadness in Amara's eyes, how she had listened without judgment, he pushed the warning aside. Surely not everyone was like that. Surely there was room for a genuine connection, even in this massive, impersonal city. That very evening, Amara texted him. This is Amara from the beach. I hope you made it home safely. Thanks for the conversation. It was the most honest one I've... Kwame stared at his phone, reading the message 3 times, his heart doing something complicated in his chest. He typed and deleted several responses before finally settling on one. Made it home fine. Thank you for sitting and talking with a stranger. Most people wouldn't have. Her response came quickly. Maybe I needed to talk to a stranger. Someone who doesn't know my history or have expectations. Someone real. Over the next few weeks, they texted regularly. Short messages at first, Amara asking about his work, Kwame asking about her day. Then came longer conversations. Messages that stretched into paragraphs, revealing more with each exchange. Kwame learned that Amara worked in marketing for a tech company, that she had studied business in London, and that she had left Lagos after a complicated situation she didn't elaborate on. She seemed to have everything: education, opportunity, yet there was a loneliness in her words that mirrored his own. They met again 2 weeks after their first encounter, this time at a cafe in Osu, a trendy neighborhood that Kwame had never visited. The cafe was the kind of place where everything on the menu cost more than he usually spent on food in an entire day. But Amara insisted on paying, waving away his protests. I invited you, she said firmly. Besides, I can tell you're trying to save money. Let me do this. They sat for 3 hours, talking about everything and nothing. Amara told him about living in London, about the cold winters and the way everyone kept to themselves on the tube, about studying business and realizing she hated most business people. Kwame told her about village life, about the simplicity he missed, about Nanaya's stories of the old days. You really love your grandmother, Amara observed. She's all I have, Kwame replied. When my parents died, she could have sent me to distant relatives who didn't want me. Instead, she raised me herself, gave me everything she had. How could I not love her? Not everyone values family that way, Amara said quietly. Some people see family as obligation rather than blessing. You're lucky to have that kind of love. What about your family? Kwame asked. Amara's expression closed off slightly. My mother died when I was 6. Cancer. My father remarried within a year to someone younger. Someone who made it clear I wasn't welcome in their new life together. Primera Abea half-sister, Aberlino. That's about it. I'm sorry, Kwame said. And don't be. It taught me independence. Maybe too much independence. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Weeks turned into a month, then 2. It became regular. Every Saturday, sometimes more often, they would find time to see each other. Amara showed Kwame parts of Accra he would never have discovered on his own: art galleries, bookshops, hidden restaurants, the botanical gardens. She introduced him to foods he had never tried, ideas he had never considered, perspectives that challenged everything he thought he knew about the world. And Kwame, in turn, showed Amara something she seemed to have lost: authenticity. He didn't pretend to be something he wasn't. Didn't try to impress her with money he didn't have, or knowledge he hadn't earned. He was simply himself, honest, hardworking, genuine, and somehow, impossibly, to be exactly what she needed. Julius noticed the change in Kwame. "You're different lately," he said one evening as they ordered their simple dinner of rice and stew. "Less stressed. What's going on?" Kwame hesitated. He hadn't told Julius, partly because he knew what his cousin would say, and partly because what he had with Amara felt too precious, too fragile, too exposed to skepticism. Nothing, Kwame said, just adjusting to city life, I guess. But Julius wasn't fooled. "Is it a woman?" "No," Kwame lied, too quickly. "Ah, it is a woman." Julius down his spoon and looked at Kwame seriously. "Brother, I warned you about city women. They're different. They'll sweet-talk you, make you feel special. Then when you've given them everything, your time, your heart, they'll move on to the next man who can offer them more. Not all women are like that," Kwame protested. "No. How many city women have you this with such confidence? You've been here less than a year, working construction all day. What kind of woman is giving you attention? Think about it. Kwame, why would a sophisticated city woman be interested in a village boy who lives in one room in Nima and carries cement for a living?" The words hit Kwame like physical blows because they echoed what he had been trying to suppress. Why was someone like Amara educated, work from money, spending time with him, possibly offer someone who had traveled the world and could afford cafes, whereas he made in 2 days? But then he remembered the way Amara looked at him when he talked, the way she listened when described village life, the sadness that lifted from her face when they were together. It wasn't about money or status, it was about connection, about She's not like that, Kwame said quietly. "She's different." Julius said, "That's what they all say. That's what I said too, 3 years ago, about a woman who cleaned out mice and disappeared. But fine, I've warned you. What you do with that warning is up to you." That night, lying on his thin mattress, Kwame thought about Julius's words. He thought about the massive gap between his world and Amara's. He thought about the fact that she had never invited him to her home, didn't know where she lived or anything about her life beyond the hours they spent together, how he was keeping her secret from everyone he knew, and wondered if he was doing the same. His phone buzzed. A message from Amara. "Are you awake? I can't keep thinking about our conversation today. You asked me what I'm running from. The truth is, I'm running from expectations, from a life that was planned for me, that felt like a cage. Does that make sense?" Kwame. "It makes sense. Sometimes we have to run to find where we really belong." "Did you find it? Where you belong?" Her response came after a long pause. "I thought I found it in London, then Lagos, now Accra. But maybe belonging isn't about a place. Maybe it's about finding people who see you for who you really are." "You see me, Kwame? Really see me? Do you know how rare that is?" Kwame's heart pounded as he typed. "You see me too. You don't see a poor village boy who does construction. You see Kwame." "Exactly. That's exactly it." Another pause. Then, "I want to tell you something about why I left Lagos. But not over text. Can we meet tomorrow? Even though it's not Saturday?" Kwame knew he should say no. He had work at 6 a.m. Needed sleep. Couldn't afford to miss even an hour of pay. But he typed, "Yes. Tell me where and when." They met on a Sunday afternoon, finding a quiet spot on Labadi Beach, far from the lively crowds. Kwame found Amara already there. She was sitting on the warm sand, her arms wrapped around her knees, her gaze lost in the vastness of the ocean. She looked different today. The usual pose and stylish woman was replaced by someone more verbal, dressed simply in jeans and a t-shirt. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice soft as Kwame sat down beside her. "Of course," he replied gently. "What did you want to tell me?" Amara took a long, deep breath, as if preparing herself for a difficult journey. And then, the story tumbled out. She told him she had been engaged back in Lagos to a man named Chidi. He was the son of a powerful, wealthy family, a perfect match in her father's eyes. It was a union that promised financial security and social status. On the surface, Chidi was a dream, handsome, successful, and utterly charming in public. But behind closed doors, he was a different person. He was controlling, possessive, and his temper often spiraled into violence. It started small, Amara recounted, her voice strangely flat, as if she were narrating a story that belonged to someone else. Little comments about what I was wearing, or who I was talking to. He questioned where I went. Then came the isolation. He slowly cut me off from my friends. He started monitoring my phone, demanding I account for every single minute of my day. And then the hitting started. It was just slaps at first, but it got a cold, hard rage began to build in Kwame's chest as he listened. "Did you tell someone? Did you get help?" he asked, his voice tight. "I tried," she said, a hint of resignation in her tone. But his family was too powerful. My own family wasn't interested. My father was only focused on the connection to Shi's family. My friends, they didn't believe me. I was always so charming around them. So I started planning my escape in secret. Little by little, I searched for job opportunities in other cities, anywhere I could go. And then one night, he hurt me badly. So badly that I genuinely thought he might kill me. That was it. I ran behind my apartment. Most of my belongings. I just packed a single bag first flight I could get to Accra. Kwame finally understood. "That's why you came back." "Yes," she confirmed. "And it's why I'm living so quietly here. Why I'm not making connections. Not dating. Not trusting anyone. Because Chidi is not the kind of man who accepts rejection. He's been calling me, sending messages. He even showed up at my office once. That's why I was so cagey about my life when we first met. And that's why I have to be so careful about where I go and who I am seen with." Not knowing what else to do, Kwame reached out and took her hand. His touch was firm, grounding. "I'm so sorry, Amara. No one should ever have to go through that. No one should ever hurt you." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "The worst part," she confessed, her voice cracking, "is that I still blame myself sometimes. I keep wondering what I did wrong, how I could have been stupid to get involved with him in the first place." "You did nothing wrong," Kwame said, his tone wavering and firm. "The only person responsible for violence is the one who commits it. You survived. You escaped. That takes incredible strength." She looked at him then, really looked at him, and he saw a shift in her expression. A flicker of something new. "You really believe that?" she whispered. "I know that," he said. "My mother's sister, back in my village. She was in a marriage just like that. Everyone told her she should stay as a wife. That marriage was for life. But my grandmother, yeah, she helped her leave. She helped her rebuild her life from scratch. Nana Ja always said, a man who beats a woman is not a man. He's a coward. And a woman who escapes, such a man is not a failure. She's a warrior." Fresh tears spilled down Amara's cheeks, but these tears felt different. They seemed to be tears of release, not just of, "Your Nana Ja sounds very wise." "She is," Kwame said with a smile. "I think she'd like you. Would she?" Amara asked, a hint of doubt in her voice. Exactly the kind of woman grandmothers usually approve of for their grandsons. "Other than you, I've been engaged before. I come with baggage." "Nana Ja judges people by their character, not their circumstances," Kwame interrupted softly. "And your character is that you survived something terrible. You built a new life for yourself. And you still have the courage to trust someone new. That's more than ever do." They sat in a comfortable silence for a long while, their hands still clasped. What between them had dissolved, replaced by quiet understanding. Finally, Mara spoke again, her voice clear, and, "Now I need to know, what are we doing, Kwame? What is this between us?" It was the question Kwame had avoiding asking himself. Doing. She was educated, worldly, a woman who had lived in London and Lagos. He was a constructor from a small village, struggling to make ends meet. The practical part of his heart, that sounded a lot like his friend Julia, screamed that this could never work. The gap in their worlds was just too vast to bridge. But another part of him, the part that had spent hours talking with her, the part that recognized the loneliness in her eyes because it mirrored his own, the part that felt more alive in her presence than he had in years, that part told a very different story. "I don't know what to call it," Kwame admitted, honestly. "All I know is that, when I'm with you, I feel like myself in a way I haven't since I left New. When I'm with you, this big city doesn't feel so big and lonely. When I'm with you, I remember that there's more to life than just surviving." "I feel the same," Amara whispered, her voice filled with a quiet awe. "With you, I don't have to pretend to be anything. I can just be." Do you have any idea how rare that is? How precious? So what do we do? Ask it. Amara turned to face him fully, her eyes searching his. We see where this goes, she proposed. No expectations, no pressure. Just two people who found each other in a big, complicated city and decided to be honest with each other. Can we do that? Kwame thought about all the reasons it was a bad idea. The difference in their backgrounds. The secrets he was still keeping from Julius. The fact supposed to be in Accra to work hard and save money, not to fall for someone who complicated everything. The warning bells in his head told him this couldn't possibly end well. But then, he thought about Amara's smile. He thought about how she made him want to be a better person, to do better, to dream bigger dreams. He thought about how, for the first time since arriving in Accra, he felt like he was truly living, just surviving. Yes, he said, the word coming out with more certainty than he expected. We can do that. A genuine smile lit up Amara's face, and this time, it reached her eyes, chasing away some of the lingering sadness that lived there. She leaned her head on his shoulder, a simple, trusting gesture. They sat that way as the sun began its descent, painting the sky in breathtaking shades of orange, pink. Two people from completely different worlds, finding, just for a moment, that they fit together perfectly. The next 3 months were the happiest known since leaving his village. His relationship with Amara deepened in ways that both thrilled and terrified him. They saw each other whenever they could before work, during his lunch breaks, and every single Saturday. Amara slowly introduced him to her world. She took him to a bookstore and bought novels, ignoring his protests. Everyone should have books they love, she said simply. She took him to his first cinema, a comedy that made laugh until they cried. She even taught him how to use an internet cafe properly, opening up a whole world of information he'd never had. But Kwame gave her something to a window into a simpler, more authentic way of being. He told her stories about village life that made her laugh, and sometimes made her thoughtful. He shared his grandmother's proverbs and wisdom. He cooked for her once, a simple village meal of kontamire stew with boiled yam. Fared it better than anything from the fancy restaurants she usually went to. Me, Amara told him one evening as they walked along Oxford Street. When I'm with you, I remember what matters. Not status or money, but genuine connection. Honestly being present in the moment. And you make me dream bigger. Kwame replied, his voice new kind of hope. Before you, I'd my life would work, send arm. But now I wonder if there could be more. If I'd study, get qualifications, build something bigger than just a livelihood. They were good together. Anyone could see it the way they looked at each other. The easy comfort between them. Even Kwame's roommate, Julius, who had been skeptical, began to soften after finally meeting Amara. It happened by accident. Amara had picked Kwame up from the construction site one Saturday in her Kara Modis Bedwell Toyota that was still worth more than Kwame would make in 3 years. Julius was there, and introductions were unavoidable. Later, back in their room, Julius surprised Kwame. Okay, I admit it, he said. She seems the way she looks at you, that's not fake, and she wasn't embarrassed to be seen at a construction site. Maybe I was wrong. Does that mean you approve? Kwame asked, half joking. I wouldn't go that far, Julius replied, but he was smiling. Just be careful, bro. Not because she's bad, but because the world is complicated. Her ex, this Chidi guy, she told you about men like that, don't give up easily. And the money difference between you two, that's going to cause problems. It won't be easy. Kwame knew he was right. The money difference was always there, a subtle tension they both tried to ignore. Amara was careful, always insisting they split costs, but the reality remained. She lived in a nice apartment, drove a car, and could spend on a meal what he made in a day. The situation with Chidi was morally concerning. Amara's ex had found out she was in Accra, and had started calling more, sending flowers to her office, showing up at places he knew she Amara got a restraining order, but it was hard to enforce, especially with Chidi's influential family. He won't let go, Amara told Kwame one evening, her voice tight with stress. He sees me as his property. The fact that I left him, publicly rejected him, embarrassed his family, he can't accept it? Has he threatened you? Kwame asked. His protective instincts, not directly, she admitted, but his messages, they're obsessive. He talks about us being destined to be together, about how I'm making a mistake I'll regret. Kwame helpless. This was a problem his physical strength couldn't solve, a situation his pockets couldn't fix. All he could do was be there for her. Thursday evening, everything changed. Kwame's phone rang while he was working. It was Amara, but her voice was terrified. Kwame, can you come? I know you're working, but I need someone. Please. He didn't hesitate. Where are you? Home. My apartment. I'll send you the address. He made an excuse to his foreman about a family emergency and left, his heart pounding. He took a taxi he couldn't afford because it was faster. Racing to the wealthy Eastern address Amara had sent. When he arrived at the gated community, with its security and neat gardens, he found Amara sitting on the steps outside her building, hugging her knees. She looked small and scared in a way he'd never seen before. What happened? He asked. Chidi came, she choked out. Got past security somehow. He was waiting at my door. Started saying all these things about how I belonged to him. How whoever I was seeing now was just temporary. I locked myself inside and called security. But he was gone by the time they came. He left this. She handed Kwame a folded piece of paper. He opened it and read, "You can run to Accra. You can try to start over. But you're mine, Amara. Always be mine. This new life you're trying to build, it's an illusion. It'll all crashing down." Hot rage flooded through Kwame. This is insane. This is a threat. We go to the police now with this letter. This is evidence. Of what? She said, her voice breaking. That he still loves me. His lawyers will spin it as romantic persistence, not stalking. And meanwhile, you live in fear, wondering when he'll show up again? Kwame asked. Amara looked at him, her eyes red. I don't know. Maybe I need to leave Accra. Start over somewhere he won't find me. Or maybe you stop running.